A couple of weeks ago, Mickey Mouse entered the public domain, at least the version from Steamboat Willie, and it's been a major discussion for the beginning of this year, and I thought it was interesting enough to talk about it. I think it's time I finally bring back animation absolutism. If you don't know, basically it's a documentary that I want to create talk about the dark sides of the animation realm. Like the behind the scenes of the animation companies of animation like Disney, Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon. Same with the film companies that do animation as well. And of course streaming services and online media. Unfortunately, it is a very large project that could be costly, so I can't really go in depth fully on my original plan, but what I can do is when a subject of animation that crops up interests me, I'll make a video on it, such as this one. Animation is my favorite medium of all time. I will never change that. I've been a fan of it since I was 1 year old, and many of my friends also enjoy animation. Me reviewing animation made me popular on the internet to the point that I was able to make money through it. There are many artistic merits to animation. Some of the greatest works of all time are animation. Some of my favorite pieces of media are also animation. There are a lot of good animators in the animation industry. It is filled with very talented people. However, in the past half a decade, there has been an increasing number of problems I have sadly noticed when it comes to people working in the animation industry. They say knowledge is power, and in order to win a fight, you first have to know what the fight is about. That is how you win. The more awareness that we spread on the past sins and mistakes can hopefully pave a better future for animation. You could say other mediums have had their troubles like literature, painting, music, film, live action, television, the internet, and especially video games, but they are at least all considered mediums by the general public. In this animation documentary, I will be going over innocent people that have been screwed over by corporations and networks. Sometimes it might just be on one person. Another episode could be on the whole company / network as a whole. This isn't meant to gain money. This is to gain awareness because I am tired of people getting screwed over in animation. If we want 2023 and onwards to not have people screwed over, then we must act now. But before we do a full act, we first are going to need all the knowledge that we can, so that way we know what we are fighting. I am going to be very harsh, strict to the point, and absolutely serious for this. This is animation absolutism. Let's first answer this question. What is the public domain? This was surprisingly a hard question to correctly answer. To simplify, when something becomes public domain, it means that anyone can make their own versions of said product, legally, and you can even make money off it. But it takes like 70 years for it to work. Once you die, your works are available 70 years later starting January 1st of the said following year. I personally think that the public domain is a wonderful tool, but like all tools, it can be used improperly. The rule of a weapon. Expected to be used against you. There is unlimited potential when the product enters public domain. How many wonderful things do you think people can make with Alice in Wonderland? A Christmas Carol is in the public domain, and almost every product ever has their own version. There is a lot that can be done. And we can all dream of other entities. Harry Potter, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, you name it, it can be part of it. One day, that is. I can't wait to see the wonderful things that they can do with those products. That doesn't mean that those products at present are in the public domain. I do believe that public domain is an important tool, and it would be idiotic to remove. If you were to remove it, someone could then murder you and steal the idea, as long as they weren't caught in murdering you. Yes, people have protested removing public domain in the past. Why is that? Well, because of the internet being, well, the internet. Well, not just the internet, as Adult Swim made Mickey Mouse humping for one of their bumpers. We gotta get rid of this thing so that my childhood won't be ruined forever! All works will eventually have their copyright expire, even if it takes centuries. But there's a major reason for why the public domain at present is fucked. In the previous animation absolutism episode, I talked about how Walt lost his intellectual rights to Oswald. Well, let's just say that Disney, the corporation, has kind of taken the defense too far. But we'll get to the corporation specifics later in this video. First, the problem when the internet gets something quote-unquote legalized. They try to be as edgy as possible. Last year, when Winnie the Pooh became part of the public domain, many people took advantage of this and tried to make their own versions of it. Like, you probably think like original cute stories or expand more upon this world? You're stupid! No, we got to make it a fucking horror story! Also, there's a version where Winnie the Pooh is blackface and sounds like Donald Trump. Yes, these came out last year. If you only care about the public domain to make horror parodies, fuck off! That is not what the point of the system is for. It's so that people can make their own versions of the work based on the original idea. Original good ideas. In the case of Mickey, it doesn't really make sense to make it into a horror, because someone already did that 7 years ago in a video game called Bendy and the Ink Machine. Basically, they were characters that were parodies of Mickey Mouse, but it's about the guys trying to kill their version of Walt in question. Oh, but this time it will use the actual characters. Does it really make it better? Try that for any real-life horror parody video game. Would you prefer if Doki Doki Literature Club was just the actual dating simulator games that it based itself on, but creepypasta? Would you prefer if Baldi's Basics was just the original educational games, but creepypasta? Would you prefer if Five Nights at Freddy's was just the actual Chuck E. Cheese, but creepypasta? Turning a product into horror is a stupid idea to use the public domain for. The advantage of the public domain is to take characters in real life that do nothing but collect dust and wait in their tiny boxes, open them up, and use them in new beautiful adventures. Unfortunately, public domain doesn't always work in certain scenarios. I'll talk about the YouTube landscape. Classical music, for example, gets claimed all the time on YouTube. Despite it being allowed for public domain, a work that you can use and gain money from it. What we can see happen with better public domain laws is people fixing bad ideas. Brace for yourself for some big brain ideas. I watched Harry Potter for the first time ever a week ago, and I had problems with it. For starters, it takes 40 fucking minutes to get to Hogwarts. The events prior show Harry being severely abused in a non-comedic way that just puts me on edge. It was one of the hardest things to stomach in a long time. The excuse that people give me is probably because of the ancient magic that protected Harry from Voldemort as long as he called the residence of a blood relative home. Harry had a small family, so they had no other choice. Even then, the point is to see him rise from the abuse to become something great. See, the defense that is given to me is not thinking fourth dimensionally. What you stated is just a bunch of mush, because the truth is that this is something that can easily be rewritten. This is something that J.K. Rowling wrote that should have been changed into movie adaptation form. Because this shit is gross 23 years later. Also, not helping the film's case is that the character in film knows that Harry's family is abusive.
Albus, do you really think it's safe? Leaving him with these people. I've watched them all day. They're the worst sort of muggles imaginable. They really are.
The only family he has.
Oh, we need Harry to stay alive, so we're gonna put him in an environment where a certain group of people could easily kill him, or Harry could commit suicide to get out of the abuse. They even state in the letters from the owl that they know that Harry lives in the cupboard cramp. Why does no one from Hogwarts call CPS if they know that it's bad somehow? Also, at least when Cinderella was locked up, she could stand and walk in her room. I think I know why they put the dumb in Dumbledore. This is just an idea off the top of my head, but why not have Harry live at Hogwarts? Have Dumbledore or Hagrid take care of him. Protect him from Voldemort. Have him grow up there. And then one year, he meets Ron and Hermione and tries to befriend them. Boom, you solve that issue and cut the Dudleys out entirely. I understand why people are fine with the current story. It's to show Harry rising up. But I don't know. Sending him back to live with them, I think is too much. Even if we can't agree on this, can we at least agree that the goblin Jewish stereotype is bad? That's up there with Peter Pan with the Native Americans with their awful What Makes the Red Man Red song. When a work of fiction gets to be in the public domain, you can easily fix their mistakes. But because of current law, Harry Potter won't be part of the public domain until anywhere between 2100 and 2200. I hope you enjoy those awful stereotypes for another century because that shit ain't going anywhere. Public domain is also great to stop ongoing stories that take forever to tell what it wants to state. It's like watching someone stutter. Speaking of watching things for the first time ever, I started watching One Piece a week ago. I'm 12 episodes in, more or less 1% done with the show since this show has over 1000 episodes. I'm watching this show because one of my editors asked me to watch it, and this was how I was going to be paying them. They weren't going to get actual money, but me promising to watch the show and give, some reviews. My biggest issue with the show so far is that it tells a total of 5 episodes of content, but it takes 12 episodes to do that. So much filler and slow pacing is shown in this. There are times when the episode just ends at random. Like, I expect him to do some kind of fight as what an episode implies, but then it just ends right there before the fight begins, even though most other shows would have had the fight and then end the episode. This is 4.5 hours wasted. Honestly, the pacing being shit I hate more than any change that 4Kids could have ever done. And keep in mind, I like the story that One Piece is telling. I even like the characters, but how it's conveyed is just bad. The writing is not good. And if you want to know why I hate this, look at High-Guarding Spice. Same length as the first 12 episodes of One Piece. High-Guarding Spice also is a show with 12 episodes but with only 5 episodes of actual content. And it fills itself with non-funny or entertaining filler that is just boring. Speaking of characters collecting dust, look how many shows that have background characters doing nothing. or main/secondary characters doing nothing. And if you think what I'm saying is an asshole, real people have made spin-offs with their main/secondary characters. Cleveland from Family Guy and Ronnie M from The Loud House each got their own spin-off shows on the same network while the original show is still airing. In the summer of 2013, a YouTuber named Jan Animations once made an animation called Button's Adventure, where he used a character from the show My Little Pony Friendship is Magic that was only on screen in a random episode for 2 seconds.
But this one's too young.
Because of the current public domain laws, he legally was not allowed to do that. And so 9 months later, Hasbro, the owner of MLP, sent Jan a cease and desist. If Jan didn't get a C&D, he would have made a mini-series about this character, but that does beg the question, why didn't Hasbro do something with the character? People did care about this character, and probably would have given Hasbro money to see the character more. They probably really wanted to see him more in the show, but all that he ever was used for was just that episode for 2 seconds, and then appeared in a later episode for 15 seconds just as a cameo playing the game and attending a wedding in the episode Slice of Life. Most corporations do jack shit to their characters, because it's easier. Legally speaking, Button's mother was not from the show, so Jan could do something with the mother, but because of the lawsuit, he'd rather just move on from MLP as a whole and work on the original stuff. Side note, he could have also done Button's Adventure in a totally different art style, as long as the art style didn't look like the actual show, but once again, he'd rather not deal with that. Of course, Jan could pay Hasbro thousands upon thousands of dollars to use this character, but I'm pretty sure that he doesn't have the funds for it. It's the same reason why I never made a 1001 Animations You Must Watch Before You Die book, a parody of 1001 video games you must play before you die, and 1001 movies you must see before you die. It's because each of the 1001 animations I would have to pay someone the legal right to use, and all it takes is one simple no for me to not use it. There is a loophole to all of this though, the internet. You see, you're probably wondering if all these laws exist, why the fuck can I see this fucking shit on the internet? Like, it's near daily to see it all online, and I know that these people don't own these characters, and some of these people have dedicated their lives and identities to these parodies. So if it's illegal, why can I see it all on the internet? It's because of the parody law. This is mostly an American thing. I hope you all know that this entire video, and by extension the series, covers mainly American law and aspects. A YouTuber like SMG4 can use content from Nintendo with them creating parody work. I can show any clip that I want as long as it falls under fair use. Of course, what is hard to determine is the amount. A company like Studio Ghibli won't want you using more than 5 seconds of their content at a time. Meanwhile, Hasbro will content ID claim no matter what just so they can gain money. There are many versions and visions and viewpoints from companies on content ID claims. Surprisingly, despite Disney's harsh nature on copyright, they are one of the nicer companies on YouTube. I never got any claims from them ever when it comes to their visuals, only ever their songs. Which makes sense since songs are the hardest thing to put on YouTube as well as anime. SMG4 can even sell merch on his characters. However, he can't sell any of the Nintendo characters like Mario and Luigi since they aren't public domain characters. This is why SMG4 himself changed his appearance a couple of years back, because his original OC looked too much like Mario, whereas the new updated design is more of an original character. I did something similar. My original Witch OC was kinda looking like a Little Witch Academia character. Now I have an original Witch design. I can't sell the old one, but the current new one, if I wanted to do merchandise, and I wouldn't mind doing that, I could sell this. What about pirated websites? Those don't follow fair use, safe harbor, parody, or public domain. This is a bit difficult to explain, but let me take a shot. Corporations rather go after big entities than small individual people. See, when you post to something like YouTube or DeviantArt, you usually don't gain any money from it, unless it is strictly a paid thing. So corporations don't really give a shit about that. You're probably wondering why people have created pieces of work on the internet though. I mean, it's not like it's immune to this. Works like Button Mash and Fighting Is Magic have been taken down in the past. The internet is in this phase called the Wild West phase. The internet started January 1st, 1983, meaning that it's only 41 years old. That's young in the grand scheme of things. Websites like YouTube only started in 2005, less than 20 years ago, half of the internet's existence at this point. A lot of these websites can exist because of this law called safe harbor. Basically, it states that anything can be posted to YouTube as long as the copyright holder in question has the ability to take it down. Other forms like Content ID started in late 2007. That way people when uploading wouldn't get instant strikes from random corporations. Oddly enough, when this thing first started on YouTube, the only option that a corporation did have was just strike it. They couldn't gain any money off it. It was just strike this or just leave it alone. See, Paramount, called Viacom at the time, in 2007 was the first company to try to take down YouTube for copyright infringement because they didn't want shows like SpongeBob to be on a platform that they couldn't own. They did this so well that in 2015 they made their own alt channels to try to showcase on YouTube that the system is broken. They failed. and YouTube won a lawsuit. If they lost, then YouTube would have had to pay Viacom $1 billion back in 2007. Remember, this lawsuit ran for 8 years. Speaking of My Little Pony, another advantage that public domain law can do is fix limited ideologies. This might take a while to explain. The biggest example of this is LGBTQ+ representation. In many stories, a lot of creators are limited to showcasing LGBTQ+ representation because of other laws not public domain related, or just terrible work environments. Remember, all of the works that I'm going to mention aren't in the public domain, and the earliest that each one will be in the public domain won't be until the next century. If we're lucky. What you usually get when it comes to rep is a term known as last-minute representation. This occurred in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. The show showed no open LGBTQ+ representation for the first 8 seasons. In the 9th/final season, they showed a couple in the background proposing that you would have to pause to see. It's not good rep. Scootaloo, who most people, including myself, thought was an orphan for the first 8 seasons of the show, is finally shown to have parents in the final season. And she also had 2 aunts taking care of her. But because it's a gay couple, Hasbro felt obligated to not show them until the very end. Then again, this is the same show that thought that queens were evil until Frozen changed everything and said, no, queens can be good now. None of the straights had to hide their families. But why did the gays have to hide? Applejack and Rainbow Dash are supposed to be a married couple, but we get no proof of that beyond the guy in charge of the show confirming it on Twitter. A better written story would show this publicly and not need the creator to confirm it. Despite the fact that Pinkie Pie is shown to be married with no metaphors or needing to bury your gays, but it's okay because she's straight. And as long as you're straight, we can market you better. Except for June's Pride Month, when we purposely only market to gay people. Steven Universe, despite having a gay wedding, is with the gems and not the human characters. Star vs. the Forces of Evil resorts to background gays. She-Ra, I Want to Punch in the Face for fantasizing abuse as gay rep.
When did you get so weak? What do you want? An apology? You're not getting one.
Voltron Flower fucking killed one of their gay characters because drama. Despite DreamWorks actually telling them to not do that, and then people in real life try to blame DreamWorks for doing this, when in reality DreamWorks actually didn't want that to happen. It was just the creators that did. I want to state that there is good rep in the West. Craig of the Creek off the top of my head, Ghost of Molly McGee, Family Guy, yes, really, Arthur, early Simpsons, Dead End Paranormal Park, and technically Steven Universe Future. Fuck, Loud House had good rep at first. Fucking Strawberry Shortcake had good rep.
As a transberry, I love living out loud as my most authentic self. And I wanted to dress as bold and unique as I am, which, let's face it, is a tall order.
I don't know much for anime, but let's go over what I know off the top of my head. We'll talk about 2 shows, Azumanga Daioh and Madoka Magica. When it comes to Azumanga Daioh, there's a girl named Carolyn that is flat out gay. She has a fantasy of marrying someone with rainbow streaks across the sky.
We're good partners. Mr. Cocky, Mr. Cocky, Mr. Cocky, Mr. Cocky. Oh, our hands, our hands, our hands, our hands, our hands. It's heaven, heaven, heaven.
But for whatever reason, she's not allowed to really be on screen to show her relationship with Sakaki. At times, Sakaki I don't think knows she exists. And the show wants to show more with this creepy-ass teacher than with the girl of her dreams.
My hands, my hands, my hands. He's touching my hands. I wish I were dead. 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 I wish I were.
Are you having fun yet, Karen?
Only my friends can call me that.
Show me sapphic women, damn it! Public domain could also be used by other people to demonstrate updated terms and ideologies. In olden times, people used the word queer as a slur. I didn't realize it stopped being a slur until last year. I'm sorry that I didn't know that. I only thought it was still a slur because my family used it on gay people because they are homophobes. Not to mention that there were shows in the 90s and 2000s that I watched growing up that used it as a slur.
Those were the toughest names we had. Now they're just...
Queer?
Yeah, and that's another thing. I resent you people using that word. That's our word for making fun of you!
Hey, that's not a girl!
It's Enrico Palazzo!
No, it's not! It's one of them queerosexuals! Get him!
Sometimes the rep could be this way because the creator didn't get their priorities straight. Madoka Magica, spoilers by the way. Well, Madoka Magica is a series about a girl named Hamura Akemi who has the ability to control time. She keeps looping the same month that she is in to save the love of her life from becoming a witch or death. She does this 100 times, implying that she did this for 12 years. After the 100th time, the curse is broken, but the girl that she loves, Madoka, becomes a god and leaves Hamura. It looked like the series ended on a happy note, but a couple of years later, we got the movie Rebellion, a direct sequel to the series. This is definitely a future animation review for the record, maybe even as an essay, but what I want to mention is the ending. So Hamura rips Madoka's godhood from her normal self, and Hamura becomes god then and resets the universe. What is the reason for this? Well, according to Hamura,
I remembered why I repeated time and suffered over and over again. My feelings for Madoka. Something you can't understand, Incubator. It is the pinnacle of all human emotion. More passionate than hope, much deeper than despair. Love.
Despite this lesbian doing this for love and being open about being in love with Madoka, the co-creator of this, Gan Uebachi, in an interview in 2013 when asked, "Is Hamura in love with Madoka?" And he said,
Probably.
"What the fuck do you mean probably? Hamura flat out said that she loves Madoka. She reset the entire fucking universe just so that she doesn't have to lose her ever again. She even said I, the strongest Japanese word for love." Public domain could allow different interpretations of characters, and in a more modern world, we could do better representation. Unless, of course, you're fine with the whole Sarah Moon Cousins thing. Jen was also asked, why did you choose to portray a homosexual love? And he said, I don't think it is that special. A really strong friendship turns into a love-like relationship without the sexual attraction in their case. Hamura deserves way more fireworks than Carolyn, because Hamura is way more open about being a lesbian than Carolyn. We'll see later this year if Madoka Magica answers more about the LGBTQ plus representation in the Walpurgis film. Is this queerbaiting? I don't know. I think it's open enough for people to realize that Hamura is gay for Madoka, which is definitely good, but that interview kinda gives the opposite ideology. Queerbaiting is a marketing technique for fiction and entertainment in which creators hint at, but not do depict, same-sex romance or other LGBTQ plus representation. Even though to me these two clearly should marry because of love. Either Jen is trolling, or this is based on an ideology in Japan from the 1930s about how a lesbian love is actually a childlike platonic phase and not sexual. When, for me, I think these two should be together forever in a lesbian way. I suppose this does segue into a different topic in the public domain, creators. In a Ren and Stimpy commentary back in 2005, John K. talked about how only the creators of a product should determine the soul of a character. One of the more minor reasons to hate him, to be as nice as I can be. He too was someone that also wouldn't fully commit to LGBTQ plus rep. So according to him, he can only create Ren and Stimpy. And I guess by his logic, suppose the awful people like Shady Vox can only voice Button Mash. Depending on the viewer, some people prefer Ren and Stimpy after John K. left, while others thought it was better when he was on board. I myself have not seen much on Ren and Stimpy, and this documentary is supposed to be neutral, so I'm not going to give my opinion here, even though, yes, I do give my opinion at certain points, but I try my best not to. I try to be as neutral as I can be. But in my eyes, bad people shouldn't be allowed to own their rights to a product. Are you fine with Butch Hartman trying to retcon Very Odd Parents with the Halloween dog, or Danny Phantom saying that the ghosts were real people, or something along those lines? Are you fine with him doing this for all of eternity? What about J.K. Rowling with her teleporting feces shit? I suppose there's the Vivzy Popcorn situation. There are people claiming that she underpays her animators substantially. This is all bad timing considering that her Has-Been Hotel TV show that's been in production for 5 years now is supposed to come out later this month. If she really is bad, should she be allowed to continue to own the Has-Been Hotel / Hell of a Boss series? Like I said, this documentary is a neutral series. I am not giving my opinion if she is good or bad here. I myself don't have enough evidence to determine a decision right now. The people in life that are viewed as good and well people sadly get abused due to public domain laws. Craig McCracken had his own show Powerpuff Girls get rebooted without his permission, and Cartoon Network can do this because Cartoon Network owns the technical rights to the show for the rest of the century, and Craig can't make his own version of the show again without Cartoon Network, otherwise he'll go to jail. Owen Dennis is in a similar boat. Infinity Train was supposed to get 8 seasons total. That's kinda why the logo was like a number 8 at one point. It was also sideways to imply that the adventure was gonna last forever. Last for infinity on a train per se. Get it? It's a pun. However, Warner decided to pull the plug halfway through the original decision, so only got 4 seasons instead of 8. Tom Warburton wanted to make a sequel series to Codename Kids Next Door, but Warner said no to it, and because of current law, he can't go elsewhere and finish the series that originally ended on a cliffhanger. And any of these guys that try to make their own works again can't because they gave their copyright permissions away to a corporation. When you sign up for a network, you lose your copyright rights, per se. It's like signing a contract with the devil. At least these guys had their works be made and people could see them. Some people don't even have their works public, or get screwed over like Andre 3000 over a lawsuit that he won but Warner threw him to the side. Constant Pain was going to be a Nicktoon, but was cancelled due to one scene looking like the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Despite this, the guy who made it, Micaiah Wright, can't legally make it anywhere else since Paramount owns the rights to it and has no interest in continuing it. A network can reject your work for any reason. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go was rejected by both Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network before it went to Disney. Nickelodeon rejected it because of 9/11 purposes, and Cartoon Network rejected it because it was too similar to the Powerpuff Girls. Phoebe and Her Unicorn was gonna have a TV show with Amazon. When it was rejected, Paramount got the rights. They still have the rights, but they decided to cancel the show because new people joined in and decided that they didn't want Nickelodeon to cater to girls. Last week, someone uploaded a lost piece of media to a film that was going to come out in 2004, but it was scrapped for reasons that I don't know. The film was going to be based on Berkeley Breathitt's opus, The Penguin. This didn't go anywhere since Weinstein was holding onto the film rights, so nobody else would adapt them after the project went bust. Boy, that pisses me off. A lot of pieces of media are lost per se because with current public domain and copyright laws, a corporation can own a piece of work and never release it publicly. And at the same time, the public domain has its issues, as in the length. Hello, Disney! Even if you know nothing about the public domain, you always hear something about Disney from it. Simply put, they keep fucking it over just so that they can own Mickey Mouse forever. Heck, you're only legally allowed to make something of Mickey Mouse in black and white. With color, it's still not in the public domain. Twice in life, they lobbied to extend the public domain, and they won each time, the latest being back in 1998. If they didn't try to extend it then, Mickey Mouse would have been available to the public as early as 2003. So you probably noticed I didn't talk about trademark laws. They're a bit different from public domain, but let me simplify. You'll have to write your own stories on a fanfiction website to get your points across. Disney extended the public domain law twice just so that Mickey Mouse couldn't be used by the public. Since Steamboat Willie is in the public domain now, I don't think Disney is going to try to extend the law again. With the way Disney changes things, if the laws of public domain were how it is now, then Disney back then would have never been allowed to make their versions of Alice in Wonderland and The Jungle Book. This is where Disney has those live-action remakes, and why Disney is stereotyped to buy everything out. So even though Family Guy doesn't feel like Disney, and has called Disney an anti-Semitist in the past, Disney now owns it for the money.
Welcome back, Mr. Disney.
Are the Jews gone yet?
No.
Put me back in.
To end this animation absolutism episode off, what needs to change is this ideology of extending the public domain. For me, all of my works you can re-upload to your own channels once I die, because there's virtually no reason for me to own it after I die. Please don't re-upload my videos while I'm alive. Then again, YouTube won't do anything, as I once did try to take down these videos of people doing that or saying inflammatory things on me, but it failed. I can draw the original Mickey Mouse and Oswald now, and no one can legally take this down, because they are both in the public domain. The public domain is a wonderful tool to have, but it has been abused for decades, and will be abused for centuries with the current law. This series is meant to talk about how to improve animation, and basically, the best way that I can say is that when you die, your work should be available not 70 years later, but 5 years later.